National Signing Day Part 2 is here, and while there's not a lot of meat left on the bone, most recruits ended up signing in the early period. There were some restrictions, and the dead period in recruiting ended up getting extended this year because of COVID-19. But there's still some players out there that can make an impact at the next level. I'm going to spend the next couple minutes letting recruiting fans, college football fans know today, the first week in February, what type of players their teams can still get and what type of impact the top 5 players still on the open market and where they could potentially be going. Number 5 on my list is Brian Thomas, 4-star receiver from the Louisiana area. This has come down to LSU, Alabama. There's a bit of a home connection here. A lot of people think LSU is the leading candidate, the leader in the clubhouse. LSU needs him desperately. A former receiver for LSU, JoJo Earl, was flipped to Alabama earlier in the recruiting process, so this would be huge for Ed Ogeron and his offensive staff. 4-star receiver, looked at as a top 50 prospect, so that'd be a huge get for whatever quarterback is set to play, Max Johnson, whoever it's going to be next year for the Tigers down in the Bayou. Number 4 on my list, available targets today in recruiting, is Terryon Arnold. This is a safety. He's regarded as a top 50 overall prospect in the country. Looked at as an athlete, probably going to play safety at the next level. It's down to Alabama and Georgia. Now, Terryon is a two-sport athlete. He's made it known that he wants to play basketball and football, so it looks like maybe Tom Crean or Alabama's basketball program will be getting a pretty good player there as well. But to me, we've heard some rumors that Alabama's the leader. Georgia, to me, seems like they could use him most. Richard LeCount leaving, Tyson Campbell leaving for Georgia. We've seen mass exodus in the secondary for the Dogs this year. He's set to make his announcement today at 4 o'clock. Number 3, defensive tackle out of New Jersey, Taiwan Malone. Now, this one's interesting because coming from New Jersey and the teams that are left for him, it's come down to Ole Miss and Texas A&M. Now, if Taiwan Malone ends up going to Ole Miss, he'll be looked at as and regarded as the number 1 overall prospect this class, 2021 class for the Ole Miss Rebels. It'd be a huge get. Defensive tackle looked at as about the number 5, number 6 overall defensive tackle in the country. Be going a long way from home, but he'd be going to a program and a fit that I think could use him immediately. If you remember this year, Ole Miss run defense was not good. Alabama game comes to mind where they gave up a ton of yards, really kind of solidify the anchor part of that defense on that defensive line for Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. Number 2 for me, and you'll see a theme here in the next 2 overall commitments, is the running back position, specifically 2 guys out of Texas that have actually already put pen to paper. Lane Johnson, number 2 running back in the state of Texas, announced today that he chose Texas A&M over Texas. A lot of people thought that he was going to be going to Texas because of the relationship with Stan Drayton, Texas running back coach, who Steve Sarkisian kept on staff there when he was named the head coach there. But Lane Johnson ends up choosing the Aggies, ends up choosing to go to College Station over Austin, Texas. That's a huge kind of in-state recruit, in-state get, and an in-state battle that the Texas A&M Aggies and Jimbo Fisher were able to steal away from Steve Sarkisian. Number 1 recruit for this National Signing Day that was on the open market today, officially, and made his announcement earlier today, was Kamryn Wheaton. Running back out of Texas as well, regarded as the number 1 overall running back in the country. He had committed to Alabama, but Oklahoma was in hard on him late. They were making some pushes for him to stay close to home, have an ability and impact to play early, but ultimately he chose Alabama in Tuscaloosa and really solidified Alabama not only as the number 1 recruiting class in 2021, but the best overall recruiting class ever in the history of recruiting rankings. They surpassed 2010 Florida Gators class. This Alabama team has the number 1 running back in this class, the number 1 center, the number 1 DB, the number 1 weak side end. Anybody that thought Nick Saban and Alabama were going anywhere anytime soon, you're sadly mistaken. Hope everybody enjoys National Signing Day, and hopefully soon, rather than later, we can get back to a little bit of normalcy in the recruiting world.